Before you scroll away, listen closely because this simple village story hides a lesson that can quietly change how you face work, struggle, and success. In a small farming village on the edge of Punjab, where dusty paths met green fields, people believed strength came from loud voices and strong hands. Yet one hot morning, a tiny ant and a golden bee were about to prove that real power comes from working together. This is not a fairy tale told to children, but a mirror for adults who think they must do everything alone. The village woke up early, with farmers leading buffaloes, women drawing water, and children running barefoot under the rising sun. Near a mango tree beside a mud house lived a hard-working ant named Ronnie, who spent her days collecting grain dropped by villagers. Above that same tree, inside a quiet hollow, lived a bee named Veer, who flew far each day to gather nectar for his hive. Though they lived so close, they had never spoken, because each believed the other lived an easier life. One afternoon, dark clouds gathered suddenly, and a strong storm hit the village without warning. Wind shook the mango tree, rain flooded the paths, and panic spread as villagers rushed to protect their homes. Rani watched in fear as water rushed toward her tiny home, washing away the grain she had saved for weeks. At the same time, Veer struggled in the heavy rain, unable to return safely to his hive. For the first time, both realized that hard work alone could fail when conditions change. Rani climbed onto a floating leaf, exhausted and scared, wondering if all her effort had been wasted. Veer spotted her from above and felt a strange pull to help, even though ants and bees rarely cared for each other. He hovered low and spoke gently, asking if she needed help. Rani hesitated, but desperation made her honest, and she nodded silently. Veer guided the leaf toward higher ground using the wind in his wings, showing patience and focus. When they reached safety near a brick wall, Rani thanked him, and a quiet respect formed between them. As the storm passed, villagers slowly returned outside, checking damage and helping neighbors. An old farmer named Kareem noticed the ant and bee resting together and smiled, sensing a small truth in a big moment. That evening, hunger spread through the village as stored grain had been damaged by rain. Rani felt helpless, knowing she had lost her collection. Veer then shared an idea, explaining that bees knew where flowers still bloomed after storms. He offered to guide Rani to places where grains and seeds were stuck near roots in dry soil. Together they started early the next morning, moving as one team with a clear purpose. Veer flew ahead to scout, while Rani followed directions carefully on the ground. What would have taken Rani weeks alone was done in days through teamwork. Villagers like Aisha and Imran watched in surprise as the tiny ant moved with confidence and speed. Children gathered, whispering about how the ant never stopped and the bee never left her side. The village slowly returned to normal, but something had changed in the air. People began helping each other more, inspired by the smallest workers among them. If this story is already making you think, take a moment now to like this video and subscribe to MindShift Tales, because more simple stories like this are coming. Back near the mango tree, Rani and Veer rested, sharing stories of their struggles. Rani admitted she used to believe asking for help meant weakness. Veer shared that flying alone all day often felt lonely and heavy. Their honesty deepened their bond and sharpened their teamwork. Days later, a festival arrived in the village, bringing music, lights, and joy. Sweet spills from food stalls created new opportunities for Ronnie to collect supplies. Veer helped by watching from above, warning her of danger and guiding her safely. An unexpected firecracker explosion shook the area, causing chaos among insects. Ronnie froze in fear, but Veer quickly shielded her and guided her away. Once again, teamwork turned danger into survival. Kareem the farmer later told his grandson that night that even the smallest lives teach the biggest lessons. The boy listened carefully, staring at the stars above the village. Seasons changed, and the fields turned golden with crops. Ronnie's colony grew stronger, and Veer's hive became healthier than ever. They never competed, because they understood that comparison only weakens progress. Instead, they focused on shared goals and mutual respect. When a drought threatened the villagers remembered cooperation over pride. They shared water, food, and labor, reducing loss and fear. The ant and bee continued their silent work, unnoticed but essential. Many villagers believed luck had saved them, but Kareem knew better. He believed consistency and teamwork were the true heroes. In quiet moments, Veer would hum softly while Ronnie worked, creating a rhythm of trust. Their friendship became a symbol, even if most never realized it. This is how real change happens, not through noise, but through steady effort together. If you have ever felt alone in your struggle, remember this small village story. Strength grows when effort is shared. As another year passed, the mango tree stood taller, offering shade and fruit. Under it, Ronnie taught younger ants the value of listening and cooperation. Above it, Veer guided young bees with patience and care. Their teamwork echoed through the village in invisible ways. People worked longer hours with less anger and more understanding. Small businesses survived because neighbors supported neighbors. The village did not become rich, but it became resilient. That resilience came from a lesson no book had taught them. It came from watching an ant and a bee choose teamwork over ego. Stories like this are why MindShift Tales exist, to remind us of simple truths. As you listen, let this message sink in slowly. You do not need to be the strongest or the fastest. You need to be consistent and willing to work with others. Near the end of summer, a gentle rain fell. Unlike the storm before, Ronnie and Veer watched calmly, unafraid. They had learned that challenges pass, but unity stays. Villagers laughed, children played, and life moved forward. The lesson stayed hidden in plain sight. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs encouragement. Drop a comment about what teamwork means in your life. Your voice adds value, just like every small effort. Together, stories and listeners create something meaningful. Ronnie carried one last grain to her home, satisfied. Veer returned to his hive as the sky turned orange. The village settled into night with quiet hope. Somewhere between the soil and the sky, teamwork had rewritten destiny. Not with noise, but with trust. Not with speed, but with patience. And not alone, but together. This is how ordinary lives quietly rise. This is the power of teamwork. The ant and the bee proved it without saying a word. And now the choice to work together is yours.